Welcome back to Facebook Fridays, brought to you by DRL Podcast. So if this is your first time joining us, I am going to be answering listener questions that I get for the podcast every Friday. So if you guys ever have any questions, do feel free to inbox me or reach out to me, and I will answer them the best I can. So today's question, it's from a man called Ghosted and Confused Listener. So I'll read you guys the question. So he says, I am very confused by women lately, and I'm hoping you can give me some insight because some women seem to be dazed and indecisive about what they really want out of a man. Let me be clear and tell you that I'm a good-looking, educated, well-to-do man who wants a monogamous relationship and marriage. Yes, men like me do exist. Well, that's good to hear. I've been listening to your show, and your rules haven't fallen on deaf ears. I've made it a point to pay attention to the things that you say women deem important on a date. I always plan a good date, open doors, make sure they get home safe, etc. I met a woman online and she seemed to be into me on our first date, and we had a great deal in common and even found out we had some mutual friends. She said she was looking for a relationship and was getting sick of the dating scene. We got together again for a second date a few days later. Again, there was a connection along with good conversation and laughs. I called her for a third date and didn't hear back, so I sent her a text. That was over a week ago, and I haven't heard anything back. No calls, no texts, nothing. What does this mean? Did I do something wrong? Should I try contacting her again? I guess this is what ghosting is, right? Normally, I wouldn't care, but I thought something more could become of this since we were both looking for the same thing and had a strong connection. Signed, Ghosted and Confused Listener. So basically what's happening here with the Ghosted and Confused Listener, he met a woman and, they had a connection, seemed to have a lot in common, and they went out on 2 dates. He did everything right, according to what I would want on a date anyway. He was a total gentleman, it seemed. And then he called her for a third date and crickets. She went completely blank. He didn't hear back from her. This was about a week ago, and he wants to know if he should just leave this alone or if he should try contacting her again. So I'm going to be honest. I, in my past, have done a lot of ghosting. So what would happen is, and this was a younger Tennesha, so please do forgive me. This was a younger, not as wise Tennesha. But I would go out with a guy, and we'd go on like a date or two, and I just wasn't feeling him. Like, he might not have done anything specifically offensive or done anything wrong. I just wasn't feeling it. And I didn't have the guts to say, I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling you. So instead, what I would do is, I would see that he maybe called or texted. And I would always try to do a little bit of a fall off method. So I wouldn't not immediately text back. I would just be like, well, I'm going to text back in 10 hours. And then I just would, then that would go to, 24 hours. And then it would go to a week. And then I just stopped altogether. So it was like gradual ghosting was more my method. Still not a good method, but that's just how I handled it in the past. So at the end of it all, though, I was just really scared to tell somebody that I didn't like them. That's what ghosting comes down to, is just you're being a coward and you don't really want to say how you feel. Now, with that being said, Ghosted and Confused Listener, if this girl actually were to get back in contact with you and say, you know what, I'm sorry, like, I had an okay time, but I just don't see this going anywhere, or I don't see anything with you, are you actually going to be okay with that? And can you accept it? So, me personally, now I'm at the point where, well, I've done a little bit of ghosting here and there still, but for the most part, I've straight up said to guys, I'm sorry, like, I'm not feeling it. You seem like a great person and maybe we can be friends, but no, I'm not feeling it, Now, specifically in this situation, they went out twice. They had a really good time. He called her, he texted her. I have a motto about 2016. In 2016, if a text message was sent, it was received. So I hate it when people really start to wonder, like, did they get my message? I mean, I'm just not sure. Did they get my voicemail? Did they get my call? Look, it's 2016. People have 10,000 ways to get in contact with you. So if she really wanted to get in contact with you, and if she lost her number and lost her phone and lost this and lost that, I am sure you are on some sort of social media and there is some other way to get in touch with you. So at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to she's just not that into you, and you have to let this one go. So it's okay though. There's other fish in the sea, but yeah, I do think when you've been ghosted, it's disrespectful on the part of the other person to do that, right? So do you really want to be with somebody who doesn't respect you enough to say how they feel? So at the end of the day, I mean, it comes down to respect. So whether, she got your messages or she didn't, she clearly is not interested, and she wasn't respectful enough to tell you that. So unfortunately, ghosted and confused, you have to let this one go. But I do want to say one more thing. I'm happy that there are men out there that want this sort of commitment and are committed to making it work and committed to taking a woman out on a good date. I love that. So just because this woman didn't accept it, please don't stop that on your next date. Actually, this brings me into a whole nother thing that I think I need to talk about. So lately I've been talking a lot about chivalry and the fact that, it's dead in a lot of ways, but I think women sort of contributed to that. And part of the reason for this is, so this guy, for example, let's say he took this girl out on a great date, like he said, and, he did all the things that he thought he was supposed to do. Now, her not calling him back, I would hate for him not to do those things for the next girl because she wasn't appreciative of it or didn't enjoy it or whatever the case may be. So, chivalry, like, keep it up. I love that you took this girl out, you planned a good date, you paid, you did all that stuff. And for the next girl, please continue to do that. So just because this girl ghosted or this girl wasn't feeling you, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. As long as you were being yourself on this date, then you did absolutely nothing wrong. This was just not the girl for you. So I hope that helps ghosted and confused. And if you guys have any questions about dating or relationships or love, feel free to reach out to me or inbox me. And don't forget, a new episode of DRL Podcast comes on every Wednesday on iTunes or SoundCloud, so be sure to check it out. And I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend, and until next time, wish me love.